Welcome back to another episode of JayTalk. I'm your host as always, Jalen Omega, and thank you all for tuning in. As you can see, I have another JayTalk collab coming up. My good friend Kylie, she's here with me. We're gonna go over just how we got to this point, basically. I'm gonna go ahead and let her introduce herself, and hopefully whatever we talk about, you get something from it. Be sure to hit that like, comment, and subscribe button for me, please. We drop some gems that you're gonna take with you. That's all I care about. Honestly, I don't really care as much about the money. I just wanna drop gems that you'll be able to take with you and pass on to somebody else. So without further ado, I'm gonna give it to Kylie.
This lifelong journey and battle is with yourself.
To really dive in and do what it is that you love. These are the ones that really push me to be the best person I can possibly be. Okay, goodbye. Thank you guys.
Hello, my name is Kylie Rohr. I grew up in North Florida. I went to UCF, and that's how I met Jalen. Super awesome. I studied psychology there, and I graduated back in 2019 and started a business. So now I do marketing and acting. So yeah, and now I run the mental health project with Jalen.
Yeah, so that's a little bit about her. We did, yeah.
We'll go more in depth.
Yeah.
We'll go more in depth. There's a lot there. But
that's a broad.
Yeah, that's the basic information that you need.
So, how was it for you growing up in North Florida? Because, like, for me, I was born in Tallahassee, but I didn't live there for that long. My entire family lives there, so I visit there very frequently. Every summer I was there and stuff like that, but it's completely different from Central Florida.
Yes, absolutely.
So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I grew up in Lake City, Florida, which is right outside of Gainesville. And let's get to this. My family back in 1950s or 60s joined a religious cult in Montana and South Dakota, and they relocated to Lake City, Florida when my mom was 14 or 15. My dad was around the same age as well. And they ended up being a part of that cult up until I was 14 or 15, and then my mom left, and we relocated to Orlando. But I was pretty much in a bubble my entire life, so I didn't have much exposure to anything. North Florida, as it is, sucks.
Yeah,
so
I can attest.
Being in a religious cult made it even worse. I make a joke out of it now because it's like, I don't really care.
But you can look back and laugh on those kind of things now.
Yeah, I appreciate everything in life so much more because I didn't have it growing up. I always say that to like my friends that I met in Alabama. So I went to the University of Alabama.
That's where she started.
Yeah, so I went to the University of Alabama my freshman year.
I would have lasted there.
No, it was awful. I went to University of Alabama my freshman year, and it was about 2 years after I had left the cult. And so it was my first time interacting with like people outside of the church. That's another thing, like you couldn't talk to people outside of the church.
Really?
So like, I mean you could, but it was like you couldn't form friendships with them. You couldn't have any like intimate relationship with them because they were not part of the church. So it was weird interacting with people who didn't have the same values as you did. Of course I wanted to because I hated the values that they made us have. But it was weird because it's like I didn't know what real friendships were, I didn't know what real relationships were. Like my first real relationship out of the cult was really toxic, and I thought it was normal because I didn't know anything else.
Yeah.
And now that I look back, I'm like, holy shit, why did I like what? But it's because I didn't know, I was in a little bubble. So yeah, North Florida sucked. And put the cherry on top of the church, that was even worse. So
yeah, and then just getting kind of like tossing yourself out into the world. It was just a
and I was the first person like from my family to go to college, and so I had no one to really. Well, there were people. So like my grandparents went to college, but that's because they went to college before they joined the cult. So I really had nobody in my family to relate to. I was the oldest grandchild, so there was like no older person to be like, oh hey, I did this. I just kind of tossed into the real world, moved 6 hours away from where I grew up my entire life, and Alabama's interesting place.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, that whole little segue of places right there, Mississippi, Alabama.
Yeehaw land. I call it yeehaw land.
I stay away from those places.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
so when you finally moved to Orlando, you started going to UCF.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that's where we met and stuff. So how was that? I know it was probably like a culture shock.
Oh my god. Yes and no. So I actually went to Orlando quite frequently growing up because my dad worked in Orlando.
Okay.
So I always loved Orlando. Orlando's actually where I wanted to move, like when I was younger. I like theme parks and stuff. So I kind of already knew the culture of Orlando.
One of the best places.
But I think going to Alabama my freshman year was really good for me because I moved away from home. I got to learn how to be independent. So when I moved to UCF, I was okay at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say okay, but
we'll get into what she means by that later.
later. But I had a better idea of how to form relationships, how to talk to people, how to, live a regular life. Like I remember Danny K.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Danny.
Shout out Danny. He was the first person I told that was a part of a religious cult, and he was like, "You're really normal." I was like, Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
That means a lot coming from him, huh?
But the more I opened up about it, I think the more I healed from it. And so, now I'm at a point where I'm like, oh, it was a good, I don't know. People are like, why are you so driven? Why are you so motivated? How are you doing all these things? And I'm like, if you grew up in an environment your entire life where you think you're going to get married at 16 years old and never go to college and never do anything in your life, and then someone gives you the opportunity to do that, you're like, what? I get to go to college, I get to have a career, you go for it,
Yeah.
And so it feels like a blessing. Some people look at college and, working as, something that everybody gets the opportunity to do. But reality is there are a lot of people out there that don't have the opportunity to do that. So when I was given the opportunity to do that, I just took it, ran with it.
We're blessed. We're definitely blessed. That's something I think about every morning, honestly. It's been hitting me a lot more as of recent that, wow, not everybody gets to wake up to 3 meals a day. Not everybody even gets to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody has a vehicle that can get them from point A to point B like that.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody has a support system that drives them and allows them to take that next step in life or to get to a place that their support system has never been.
Absolutely.
So, I'm just so blessed every day. We're blessed,
sure.
man.
No.
We really are. So.
Absolutely. It's weird because I don't want to invalidate other people's feelings because I think there's, people are like, oh, well, don't complain about this because some people don't have this.
Right.
I think there's a fine line of being grateful and also, allowing yourself to feel a certain way about a certain situation that you're in potentially, whether it's financially or your career or something, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I think it's important to be grateful and also value and validate your emotions, however you feel about something.
Right.
But no, we're definitely grateful. You just don't always realize it because sometimes you get so consumed by the negative thoughts of what you don't have, you don't realize what you do have.
Especially in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I always refer back to this quote. It's you never know something's a memory until it's already happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're looking back oh my gosh, if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
If I didn't meet this person, I wouldn't have the opportunity to do this.
No, seriously, that's what I've been thinking about recently. Is just how everybody connects you to a new path in life. For example, obviously we met. You and I stayed.
I'm leaving that out.
Huh?
I'm leaving that
out. Anyways. And then Jalen and I reconnected because I asked him to read. I asked Jalen to read a part in a script I was doing for my acting class. And then we started talking and I was like, oh, Jalen, you should join class. And then he joined class and then we reconnected and then we started the mental health project.
Before we get into the mental health project, I want to ask you, just for the audience watching,
mm-hmm.
People know they have a calling or they have an idea of what they're good at and what they know they can excel in,
mm-hmm.
but they just don't do it. Obviously, you're a very outspoken person. You're very enlightening. You're an amazing person. You're inspiring,
Thank you.
Of course. And so obviously acting is something that you've been wanting to do, you've been working towards. So how'd you get to that point? Because I also want to share how I got to that point as well.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
if you want to let them know.
Yeah, for sure. So it's funny. Like I said, growing up, I couldn't do anything. Like, I couldn't have hobbies. I couldn't participate in sports. Like, I couldn't do anything. And so I kind of just, my dad was very into TV and film. That's what he studied. He went to college for a little bit.
Okay.
I really, like, that was kind of my window into the world, was film and television. And I always just enjoyed, you know, the art of it. And I made a little Pinterest. I found this the other day, and it like made my heart so happy. But I made a Pinterest board when I was younger, and when I was still in the cult, and it was like my dreams, and it was like all about acting. And,
really?
Yeah. It was like when I was probably 13 or something.
Wow.
And
you just came across it like randomly, or?
Well, I accidentally signed into the wrong Pinterest the other day. Because I have multiple Pinterests, because I forget my password besides the point. But I actually signed to an old Pinterest, and I found this board, and I was like, oh my god, what? And I took an acting class at UCF.
Okay.
And I have horrible social anxiety. Horrible.
She hides it well, though, guys.
Yeah, I do. It's mostly like I get stage fright. So basically, he said, don't live with the ghost of what you could have done. And I was like, I'm 23 right now. I have stable finances. You know, everything I've ever wanted in life is right there. I don't want to look back 10 years from now when the opportunity is no longer there and wish I would have done something, or wonder what would have happened if I would have done it.
Right.
Like, he was saying, like, what's going to happen? What's the worst possible scenario? That you hate it and you move back to Florida? I was like, yeah, that's basically
pretty much it.
That's pretty much it. And I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because I love California. Like, I feel it. You know when you're just drawn to something, and usually ends up being the right decision, like whether it's like going to college at a certain place or certain friends, you know, you feel drawn to their friendship, their presence or something, and it ends up being something very beneficial. Like for us, for example, I knew that when we became friends, I was like, I can just feel like there's something that's going to happen between us that's going to change our lives. And
it's happening right now, and we have an idea of where it's going. Other people don't, because we haven't really gotten into depth about that yet. But this is just going to be a part one. We're still going to attack some of the topics on the mental health project, on some things, some projects we have coming up, some major moves that are happening, as well as our acting careers and how we got into it and where we're taking off to. This is only part one, so stick around. I can't lie to you guys, my battery's about to die.
I know, we're sorry.
I'm so disappointed.
We're going to have 100 of these conversations next year.
She's going to be, like I said, basically a co-host of JayTalk Collab, so thank you for being here, taking some time out of your little trip, your weekend getaway. Hopefully you guys got something from this. I know it was a little bit of an introduction, but I know there's also a few nuggets in here for you guys to take with you. There'll be a part two right after this episode, so make sure you click on it. It's going to be at the end of this in closing. I love you guys. I'm thankful for every single one of you, and I can't wait to talk to you all soon. We'll see you. Peace.
Bye.